we're talking really about employee benefits today. And we're curious, how do you see companies ensuring that their employee benefits really reflect and reinforce the company's core values rather than feeling like a generic perk that everybody has?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, and probably an extremely important question for any small business. I think really where you start is start with your core values. So, first make sure you have them, and keeping in mind that core values are not something that you invent or create. They are something that you already have. That it's really a discovery process. So, I'll give a quick overview on how I suggest people start to get their values, and then we'll tie them in to benefits in a second. So if you don't have your values set, my suggestion would be to just go around with your entire team, ask them what's important to you at work. And then leadership should really be looking at their values as well. And can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. I'm not sure how much of that got recorded or not. But
most of it except the last 30 seconds, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just kind of quickly start there.
Sure.
So whoever's reading this knows that there was a breakup in the reception.
Yeah.
So go around robin with your team, talk to everybody, write down what everybody believes that is of value to them, the value that they serve each other and the customer, and then leadership should meet and then take time. This is not something that's going to take a few hours. I typically say it's going to take at least several weeks or maybe even a couple months. You really should be thinking on this and get your values written down. That's the first step. And then we talk about how do we ensure that your benefits reflect your core values. So what I would suggest is that you take your values, you sit with your team, whether it's one big meeting or you could do a Google survey or whatever survey you use, but then really ask your team what is important to them benefits-wise. I'm a big proponent of not just making an administrative decision and dropping that down. Actually talk to your team, ask them what's important to them, and then you can bounce the ideas that you're getting from your team on benefits against your values and look for alignment there. That's really how I would suggest going across this question. Number one is basically, to ensure that we have our benefits reflecting and reinforcing our core values. So just start with your values, ask the team on benefits, match them up, and you should come up with a nice list of benefits that are matching your values.
Yeah.
So, pretty simple in execution.
Yeah, totally, Dean. I jotted some notes down, and I think you hit on a lot of them there. One thing that I'll add is a huge pitfall that I've seen companies do is just copying their competition, whether that's in the values or the benefits themselves. Your values are not your values if you're just copying the competition, or if you're copying a company that you aspire to be. They're not your values. Your values need to be individual. They have to do with your company, what your company does, and most importantly, the people at your company, right? They're the ones who shape your company, your value, and your culture. And if you're just taking that shortcut and looking at a competitor's website, or certainly don't just go to ChatGPT and say, write these company values. They're going to be generic. It's not going to relate to your company. And then the same thing goes with benefits, right? Like, benefits can be a differentiator. They can help you to differentiate your company from the competition. And if you have employees who are top employees looking to join or interview, you want to make sure that you have values that pass.
You broke up that last second.
Go ahead.
Say that one more. You broke up that last second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Feel free. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to basically say 100% agree with everything you said. And, I think we're basically talking about the same thing here.
Yeah.
is don't copy. They have to be yours, and take time and think about them. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just one more thing to add is make sure your benefits reinforce those values. Don't talk a big talk, but then not back it up with your benefits. So, if you say we value flexibility in our organization, well, then you better consider some type of flex time or PTO or, the ability to work from home when needed. Or if you say we value health, offer a benefit for gym memberships or some type of fun, internal competition for, health or workout. So really make sure that you back it up with your actual actions in the benefit program that you have versus just saying, we value all of these things and then having just the most basic benefits possible.
Yeah, very much agreed. Because guess what, Chad? Your employees are smart and they will figure this out really quick and they will identify you as a fraud, basically. So we don't want that. So it's do what you say what you do, and be able to back it up and prove it.
Yeah. Just talking a game and not doing it is probably worse than not probably. It is definitely
100%, Chad. Yeah. You might, if you're not going to do it properly and authentically, trust me, don't do it at all. It's not going to be good.
Nope. Employees will see right through that.
Correct.
Very quickly. All right. Well, Dean, I think we actually already touched a little bit on question 2, but let's hop into it and see if there's anything to add. What role does employee feedback, which is what you kind of talked about earlier, play in shaping a benefits strategy that genuinely does align it with the company culture?
Yeah, again, we did cover some of this, but we'll just go over it again. Feedback is so critical. So as leaders and managers, a lot of times we just think we can just read the room. We can tell what our team wants and needs. We think we know best a lot of times. But guess what? That's not actually the case. That's why actually asking your employees and getting that feedback in an official way, you could definitely do this in a meeting and do a round robin. That's one way to do it. I like to do it that way, but I also like to sometimes actually pull out a survey, do like you said earlier, Google survey or whatever survey tool you use, and let your people sit on that for a day or so and get that really good feedback. Don't assume, actually talk to your team. And bump those up to your values and make sure there's alignment. That's really the big one there, is be authentic and ask your team, and do it in a public forum so it's transparent. So transparent about this, that we are asking out in the open and everybody can answer openly and honestly as well. So 100%.
For sure. Well, one thing to just add to that, and I wrote this down as I was looking around earlier. Don't just use employee feedback as a validation step. Don't say, these are our benefits, do you like them?
No.
Use it as an actual input to the design of the benefits program. Ask them what they're looking for, what they need, what they value. Maybe the company ownership leadership thinks that having a ping pong table is a great benefit, and the employees think it's a joke. I'm not saying it is, but you need to hear that from them, because otherwise you're not going to understand it. Maybe they rather have free snacks than spending the money on a ping pong table or whatnot. So there's a lot of things that go into it, but I think getting that feedback up front as early as possible and from as many employees at different levels of the organization can be really, really helpful.
Yes, 100%. I mean, to your point, there's really two things that I'll just back this up before we move on.
Yeah.
Two things that benefit to actually asking your team. One, just the fact that you're asking of these things, it shows that you genuinely care about them, that you're interested in their feedback, and that you genuinely want to build your workplace into a great place to work. And that only happens if you're transparent and open and ask your people. And then they will understand, they will know that you actually care because you're asking. And then on top of that, the second thing that you get out of that is you get what your team actually wants. Like you said, I think last year there was this big thing about pizza parties, right? Well, managers thought throwing a pizza party smoothed everything over. Well, guess what? the team picked up on that real quick, and they realized that they weren't getting raises in place of pizza parties, and or weren't getting bonuses in place of, they were getting pizza parties instead. And they're really smart. Like we said on the first question, your team is smart. They know. Don't try to fool them and pull the wool over their eyes. Just be transparent and open, and it will be best.
Totally. Totally. Avoid the pitfall of asking for feedback and then doing nothing.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Again, we mentioned earlier, but like asking for feedback, getting that feedback, and then just being like, meh, but we're still going to do it this way. That's almost just as bad as not asking at all, because then they really don't feel heard. They say, we said we much rather have a education stipend versus a pizza party, and leadership is like, pizza parties, like that's just not the solution. So listen, take the feedback, and act on the feedback is really key.
100%.
So Dean, you touched on it a little bit, but I'm just going to add a follow-up here. What do you think the best ways to receive that type of feedback, or to even ask for that feedback? I know you mentioned some surveys, you mentioned a round table. Any other methods or ways that you've seen or used in your career?
You broke up really bad on that last one.
Okay.
Why don't you say it one more time?
Yeah,
I missed the whole thing.
No problem. So I was just asking as a follow-up, what have you seen as the best methods for asking and receiving that feedback? You touched on it a little bit, but just kind of wanted to get your insight there.
Yeah, probably very similar to the things we just came up on. I definitely like in-person feedback is one method. It's not the only method. Meaning you have a group meeting, maybe a group lunch, and you literally just open the floor. You do a round table. You literally ask people. Make sure you're writing those down though, and getting and prioritizing too. So if you have 3 or 4 people asking about the ping pong table, then maybe that's an important thing to go to. But if you have a very small audience looking for that, then probably not a very popular thing. So don't go down that road. In person, definitely lots of ways to use technology. Google Forms is one, SurveyMonkey. There's all sorts of forms out there. Or you could even, if you really want to get really non-fancy, just use a spreadsheet and have everybody type it in there. Probably not the best bet, but if that's what you got, run with it. You can even go old school. Have a bunch of sticky notes. Give everybody a couple sticky notes. Have them patch them up on a board. Make it a little fun. You could have a little excitement on it, and maybe upvote. Have everybody put their sticky notes on a board, and then have a quick 15-minute meeting and see what gets moved to the top. You could have a little fun with this. So those are a couple of ways that I would suggest.
I love that. I really like that. And I wrote this down. It's important, and I think that would help with it, is to hear feedback from all levels of the organization, from the brand new intern or the employee you hired yesterday, all the way up to the C-suite and everywhere in between. This is a stat I found online, but 86% of employees don't feel all people are equally heard. That's really bad for inclusion. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I guess the moral of that is don't just talk to your leadership team and get the feedback from them. Get the feedback from everyone, from the employee hired yesterday to, the managers, department heads, CEOs, whatever it is within your organization. And also understand that different people are at different places in life and value different things. So hearing that feedback from more people and understanding what they're going to use and what they need is really key.
100%.
Cool. All right. Well, if you're good, we'll move right on to question 3, Dean.
Sounds good.
All right. So what common mistakes do organizations make when designing benefits, and how can they avoid undermining their intended culture? We probably touched on a few of these already.
We did.
Anything to add here?
Yeah, let's just we'll kind of go over one more time, and that's okay. We get our apps out there, and they're making very similar to what we already said. They're making assumptions. They're copying other people. You're looking at benefits package. So you go out to your competitors, or you go out to some company you admire, and you just look at their packages, and then you model yours after that. Well, I mean, it's okay, but again, how about surveying your team, having an official survey, asking them. you could be anonymous if you want, or you could be open and people's put their names on things. That's not really that critical. But the thing that's really critical in my mind is that you tailor your benefits to your team. And the only way to do that is to ask them. And we laid out a few ways to ask them earlier: benefits, meetings, sticky notes on a whiteboard, lots of different ways. Use your imagination. That's probably the biggest one. And then the second part of that question is how can they avoid undermining their intended culture?
Mhm.
So I would say the biggest thing I would do there is, again, culture is driven by values. We all know this. So make sure you have your values written down. And then when you're designing this benefit package, literally grab your values. If you and really look at the two of them side by side and ask yourself, and not just yourself, but you should probably hopefully have two or three people in the room that are leaders. If you have somebody from people, HR, if you have somebody from operations, and maybe somebody from the C-suite in that room, and really look at your values and look at the benefits, and it's pretty obvious if they're not jiving. Just look at the two of them. Look for alignment, and if you got alignment, you keep. I'm not sure if I'm coming through there or not, but you're real sketchy looking.
Yeah, you froze up at the end of that one. I think we got the gist of it, though,
Okay.
certainly for this. Good stuff. I'm going to add just a couple of things. I've mentioned this before, but don't overpromise and underdeliver. Don't offer unlimited PTO and then discourage taking PTO or shame your employees for taking time off. If you don't want to offer unlimited PTO, then that's fine. Have a set number of hours and encourage your employees to take it. Burnout is a real thing, and that's the last thing you want at your organization. That's how you're going to have turnover, not just employees taking 3 days off or a long weekend or a week off. It's really key to talk your talk and walk your walk with these benefits. And again, we talked about it earlier again, but don't always pick flashy over substance. Don't pick the ping pong table or the guitar hero in the break room over good vision benefits, for example. Trust me, your employees are always going to value the substance over the cool employee perks that may be trendy at the time. So just look out for that.
100%. Yeah. Look, substance. I think I like that word you use there. Make sure that the benefits package that you're putting together has actual substance. Because at the end of the day, people will recognize substance over fluff.
Yeah. And
get it. They're smart. People are smart.
Exactly. And they will see right through it. Everyone has a BS meter, so to speak. And that will go off easily if they see the company not backing up what they're saying they're going to.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah. And one last thing, measure usage of your benefits. That's all. You can see what your employees are using. If you have a benefit that you offer that 0% of your team uses, might not be necessary to spend money on that benefit. Or if you have something that 100% of your employees use, maybe that's something to double down in or to talk to your employees about, should we do more of this? So just keep that in mind.
Agreed. You actually make me, you mentioned it earlier too, unlimited PTO.
Yeah.
That's a big one that you really do need to measure if you're offering it, because unlimited PTO, if you do the research, it has some very, what would we say, it's viewed in a lot of different ways, and some are very negative and some are very positive. They're, depending on the culture, unlimited PTO can a lot of times force people to not use their PTO. And that's where your point, Chad, of measuring it. If you're going to have unlimited PTO, you have to measure it for usage. Because what you'll find a lot of times, specifically with that one, is people, when you just say they have something good in place and encouraging that they use at least X amount of that PTO is really critical whenever you're doing unlimited. I just wanted to call that out for the unlimited one, because that's one that has a lot of different angles that you can look at it from, and it can be viewed positively and negatively, and sometimes both at the same time, I've seen.
Agreed.
So just be careful with that one. Do your research.
Agreed. Yeah, it can be good, it can be bad. It just depends on how the company handles it and how the employees see it and recognize it. I even saw in my research that some companies, and I think this is actually genius in certain regards, they'll actually align their manager or leadership incentives with benefit usage of their team. So if the company is really trying to push, hey, we value your mental health, your time off, your opportunity to reset, holding the managers accountable. So you don't have just one manager who's really discouraging their team to take PTO, while every other manager in the organization is encouraging their team to take PTO. So, that's another, maybe on the extreme side, but a really interesting concept or way to encourage benefit usage.
100% agreed.
Cool.
Good points.
All right, Dean. Well, the last question we have here, just any other points that are relevant that we really haven't covered yet in our conversation?
I think we covered quite a bit. I would say we've covered most of it, but I just kind of double down on the values, setting your values, which drive your culture, and that your benefits package should really be a reflection of that. And really just keeping in mind that these are living things that, you may have set your benefits package years ago, but guess what? Things change. So if you set that 5 years ago, it may not be as valid now as it was 5 years ago. So I would say at least biannually at a minimum, you should review your benefits packages, go through the same procedure. Ask the team, do a survey, do sticky notes, however you want to ask, and really just ask, how is our benefits package serving you? And if you get a bunch of big thumbs up and people are super happy with it, leave it as is. If you're starting to see that, maybe your current team values work from home or whatever more than others, you might want to adjust your policy a little bit. So don't always look at these things, as the policies at least, as static, and that they're set in stone. They really are fluid things that you should be adjusting, at least looking at once every year or two.
Yeah. And I think when your employees see you adjusting things, as long as it's not adjusting it and like taking away half of the benefits, they see you adjusting things, adding things, tweaking things as a positive signal that they're listening and paying attention and truly do care about the employees. I pulled another stat that more than half of employees say benefits influence whether they stay or leave at a company. So
100%.
Huge for retention.
And that kind of boils down a difference. People feeling valued at work, people actually having good benefits, working in a good culture, all of those perks for the team. But guess what else those drive? They drive higher employee engagement, higher productivity, a healthier team, a team with less turnover. So there's a lot of huge benefits to these that are these kind of bottom line benefits that some managers are looking for. But if you just really want to keep your team happy and knowing they made a difference and be productive, just focus on the things we just talked about, and you really will have you'll have a nice smooth running machine if you just focus on those things.
Definitely. Cool. Well, anything else to add, Dean? I think that's our interview today.
I think we're pretty good, Chad.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and until next time.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dean. See you in a few minutes here.
All right. Thanks, Chad.
Appreciate it. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.